Hey there, that guy with the voice here. Today we're doing something a tiny bit different. Little shootout between the Neumann TLM 103 and the Electro-Voice RE20. Both wonderful mics, both useful in their own rights. But which one sounds better for voice acting purposes? We'll get into that right now. As a little disclaimer, both of these inputs are going to be ran completely dry. No compression, no equalization, no fancy tricks, no fancy editing. Just straight into the computer. The only messing that's going to happen is levels, just to make sure they're matched so that you don't have that little trick of like, ooh, that sounds bigger and brighter because it's louder. Little fun fact, people that used to sell radios and car stereos at like Best Buy and Circuit City, because that used to exist, would play this little trick on you where the one that they wanted to sell, they would crank the volume up on it just ever so slightly, and because it was louder, they'd get you. Friggin' charlatans, I swear to God. I fell for it once, so I've never let that go. So let's start with the obvious differences. The TLM 103 is a condenser mic, whereas the RE20 is a dynamic mic. What does that mean? I'm not really smart enough to explain it in depth. Just know that a condenser mic, 99 times out of 100, requires 48 volts phantom power, which every mixer, every soundboard that is half decent and is more than $5 has embedded in it. Just plug your mic in, hit that little button that says 48V, you're good to go, no problems. A dynamic mic doesn't need that little extra power. It creates the power itself via magnets. That's pretty cool. Magnets are cool. They do cool stuff. I used to play with them a lot. Why am I giving life stories in the middle of this? No one cares about your life, dude. They just want to hear the mics. So, since the beginning of this video, you've been listening completely to the 103. It's got a great high fidelity, just amazing width, depth, other dimension, height, width, depth, yeah. I'm not a sound engineer. I just know what's good on the ears. It is a quiet mic, which means it doesn't create a lot of noise in and of itself. It's super quiet. Just listen. I didn't cut the audio there. I just didn't talk. It makes very little sound, and it's wonderful. It can take a baby's farts that are filled with like particles of the food they ate earlier that day and just make it sound like, oh my God, it's angels singing. Oh my God, that's the voice of Jesus. Neumann has that power. Unfortunately, that power comes at a great price. It's tough to find this microphone for anything less than $1,000. And if you do, there's probably something wrong with it. I got this on eBay for $650, $700. I don't really remember. It came with a few dents and with the ability to make just popping and crackling noises whenever the wire is a little bit loose for no reason at all. In terms of voice acting, though, you do have to be super careful with how far away you are from the mic. You need to have great control of the microphone and of yourself, because that little thing we call the proximity effect or the voice of God, it really gets amped up by the microphone like this. It also might be doubling up because of the headphones that I'm wearing. But the further away you get, the more tinny and... So basically, if you want to sound like God, get it. Wonderful. Also, when you have this mic, you need to make sure your room where you're recording is pristine. You have to make sure there are no reflections, no trappings, nothing that gets reinforced sound-wise, because it will pick up every little noise, every little reflection, every little squeak, squawk, boop, bop, every little noise that you even hear. It'll get that. Even noises you can't hear, it will pick those up, and it will just push them toward their absolute maximum sound. Like even below me, I have a fan. I'm on the second floor right now. There's a fan below this floor. Whenever it's on, I can't hear it, but this little guy can. Also, if you live in a humid climate, oh boy, you are in for some trouble. You need to make sure that wherever you're storing this mic is dry. If there's any amount of moistness on the electronics or the capsules, you will be crying. Because it will start to make this sound that is just horrifying. It makes you think you just lost $1,000 down the toilet. It's terrifying. So, when you're not using it, make sure you put it away in this nice little case that it came with. I don't know why I said it like that. Man, I'm terrible at this. Now, the $1,100 price point may seem like a lot, but This was created as the clone or the affordable version of the U87, which is used in every high-end broadcast radio department. I know a lot of people don't listen to radio anymore, but if you've ever listened to anything from like NPR, they are using the sound of the U87, which costs $3,200. No normal person will ever need to spend that amount of money, which is why Neumann's like, hey, we know, we're greedy, but here, have this. Thank you, Neumann. Very cool. All right, so since the beginning of this video, you've been listening to the 103. You've gotten accustomed to the sound of it. Now, we'll be swapping over to the RE20. And now, the RE20. Immediately, you can hear the difference between the two mics day and night. This is a lot more darker sounding, a lot more flat sounding. It's boring, it's plain, it's unoriginal, it's like skim milk. Yeah, it gets the job done, but at what cost? The cost of flavor. It's gone. And while you're losing that flavor, you gain in that ruggedness, sturdiness. Yeah, it sounds boring as hell, but you can beat the crap out of this mic and it'll still keep ticking. I've dropped this thing 1,000 times. And I'm like, it's fine. It'll take it, no problem. Pick it up, dust it off, get that little Cheeto dust off of it, get that queso off of it. Still, yeah, it's going to have some weird smells at the end of the day, but hey, it still works. The flatness can be a good thing. A lot of broadcast companies do also use this mic as their standard mic. A lot of radio stations, a lot of podcasts use this mic as that daily, this will get the job done. Because here's the wonderful thing about it. Proximity effect doesn't exist. All that happens is my voice gets louder. The closer I get, the further I get, it just gets quieter. It stays the same response. Response is a huge factor. If you do not know how to control a mic, this is perfect because in post, you can bring up the brightness. Yeah, no problem. You can make it sound like a 103, but not really at the same time. But that's not the point. Anyway, also, you don't need phantom power, is what I said originally, but you kind of really do. This mic requires a ton of gain being pushed into it to even hear it. The SM7B has that same problem, but that's not what this is about. This is about how loud you have to have for a preamp to be able to hear this. I'm using a Cloudlifter CL1 with this. That's an extra $100 on top of the $500 price point already. So you've already paid $600 just to be able to hear this thing. Not to mention the price of your preamp. Who even knows what you're using? The Cloudlifter CL1 right here, it throws an extra 25 decibels of sound. That's a lot. That is a lot of gain. So much gain. And with that extra gain comes extra noise. The 103 didn't have that noise. The RE20, I'll shut up for a second and you can hear it. Just so much noise. It's a lot of noise. A nice little feature of the RE20, though, for all its flaws, is that it has a nice little bass roll-off feature. There's a little switch at the bottom of it which rolls off all the frequencies by about 60 dB, I believe, 45, somewhere in that area. And that's perfect if you have a very shaky system in your life. If your life is shaky, it's not gonna fix your life. Your life's still gonna be shaky, but it'll get that shakiness out of the performances, out of your recordings. Say this table. Oh man, it's shaky. Earthquake. Say you live in California for the last 2 days. Oh my God. Oh, sorry. And you don't want to record an earthquake while you're doing voice acting. Earthquake's gone. Too bad you weren't there to save Los Angeles when the quakes happened. That's also another problem with the RE20. Perfect tie-in. Because you have to throw so much gain into it, you will overload any preamp that you're going to use. If you have to be loud, oh, you better be prepared for a lot of distortion. But c'est la vie. I'm not French. Why? I have never used the phrase c'est la vie unironically. So ultimately, what mic do you need? Depends on 1, your wallet, 2, how much you believe you're going to be invested in this, and 3, and the most important factor, your voice. Every voice is different. Every voice has different frequencies that are pushed further and pulled back. I happen to have a very low resonant frequency in my voice, but I could pull Joe Schmo off the street and he'd sound like crap on it. It ultimately depends on what frequencies in your voice exist and don't exist. If I had to pick one, only one mic to ever use for the rest of my life that I've used currently and was between these two, and I had a bullet to my head and I was stranded on an island, it'd be the 103. 100% the 103. But hey, that's my voice. It's not your voice, it's my voice. You can't have my voice. Get away from my throat box.